Oh, no.
Not that bad. We can fucking put up with it.
No, we're gonna
Just fucking start the stream. To be honest.
Okay, so you want to start the stream? You want to start the stream now?
Are you
Yeah.
sure
Are you
you want to
sure?
start with that issue? I mean,
Are
I
you
think
sure we're going to start the stream? We're
first.
going to start the stream now?
We're just
Okay,
gonna-
let's start the
starting
stream. Okay, the stream started. Okay, you happy now?
I see that you've got streamception at this point.
Got
So
what?
there's gonna be you've got the stream,
Oh, we
so I
need
can see
to.
the pitch, and then in the top left is
Ooh.
everything you're doing. Is your display.
What's that happen?
Those boomers. Who left the boomer in
Oh,
charge of the tech?
You liked your own video as well.
Of course, I liked my own video. Oh, so are all my 10 followers and
that's
100
disgraceful.
bots or so
That's
going to know?
disgraceful.
I don't care. I didn't. My alter ego liked the channel. It's just a blatant publicity to all the nobody that follows me.
It's gone.
How is everyone? Are we all well?
I'm very
Yes.
well.
Great, great. Oh,
Right.
tonight we have Tailed feature with us, which is a new addition, and Discordia. Welcome, you guys.
Hey.
Oh,
And we're instead of doing the usual reading off Twitter and then laughing at the holy shit, what the fuck state of things, I thought I would actually change it up a little bit and sort of kick off with a bit more of a debating format and tell you guys about some ideas I've been having with regards where I see politics go, and see if you can shoot many holes in me and generally tell me I'm an idiot. Thinking. In principle,
We'll be happy to do that.
yeah, I thought you would. I thought you would. Basically, I've been thinking about this a lot, and we're looking at politics, and there's an awful lot of stuff on the news, and there's an awful lot of far left, there's an awful lot of far right kicking off, and there's an awful lot of people not even knowing where the f there is. And I think that's a fair question at the present moment. I don't even think the compass, as we know it, is even really a political. And we're using old political modes. We're looking at politics from 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and so on, and expecting that to have an answer for the information age that we're now in, and we're only just working out what the internet is and what it's bringing to, and it's considerably shaking up everything that we know, because ideas that are current in America become current everywhere in the world, just as ideas everywhere else in the world become they pick up very, very quickly. So politics as we know it, it's changing, whether we like it or not. And I don't know. I fear that there's an awful lot of big left-wing movement. We all know. Then you see these right-wingers as well, and it seems like both are attacking. And nobody's talking about libertarianism and libertarian ideas, and the core of that is the right for people to earn their wage, etc. And the crux of my idea is to basically, where everybody has a tax liability, no matter what country they live in, they have an amount of tax they have to pay. If you give the population the ability to offset that liability by directly going, okay, I've got to pay 20 grand a year in tax, or whatever it is, and they can take a certain portion of that and pay it directly to what would be otherwise government-funded organisations. So if I want to pay my tax liability to my local university because I think they're doing such a bang-up job, I should be able to. And I should be able to take the taxman and the inland revenue largely out of the situation, which will allow my $10 or £10 or whatever to go directly to that institution, rather than go through central government, pay off a whole bunch of people in that massive civil service monster to get $1 over to the thing that I actually would like it to go to. It's much easier for me to take my £10 in hand and hand it over, get a receipt, and then wave that at the taxman. That's the essential crux of the idea, and I've heard nobody talking about this type of a format, about giving the people the ability to decide specifically where. Just throw it open there because there's a lot more to it than that. But I'm happy to hear what you've got to say.
Well, it sounds like you want to localize taxation. You want to essentially break down central government and their monetary or monetization, I guess,
The
of
monetary,
tax.
the taxation monopoly that central government has. Yeah,
Yes.
largely
You
over
wanna-
to.
You want to break that down, and rather than go through central government to give out your taxes, you want to be able to go to things like charities or
No, I'm not saying charities.
health
I'm saying
services?
what would normally be considered an organisation that was a recipient of tax. So road planning, schools, education, hospitals, everything that we currently see as a government institution is essentially an organisation that could be run like a normal organisation, any company, and be the recipient of tax funds, run it as a non-for-profit. And
Right.
once you take that, once you break it down to a smaller, more sort of organised, small organisation that receives funds, you can then donate funds directly to it, offset its requirement for government taxes.
I kind of see a problem.
Yeah, go for it.
So, where you send the tax is voluntary, but your sum total of tax is still equivalent, right?
Yes.
Right. So, well, first I can say, could you not achieve the same thing by reducing the tax burden and allowing people to just give to charity with the money they get back?
Charity is.
Well, not necessarily charity, but when I say charity, just donate your money to X.
Hold on a second. What is X?
Whatever you want, based on what you said.
No. I was specific about these organisations that would be included in the normally be organised.
Which
Okay,
what by
So-
which you really
so-
mean would be X institutions.
Are we
What
talking
it
about-
sounds like to me is that you want to privatize some of these institutions.
I largely all of it. Yes.
Okay, so the problem I was going to say is, right. So one of the ones let's go with one of the ones you said. You said like the people in charge of building roads for a given area. Yeah.
Mhm.
Say, let's pick Croydon just randomly. Yeah.
Okay.
So-
Not all about Croydon, but okay.
Well, neither do I, but I'm just picking
Sure,
like
it's a name. Go for
borough,
it. Yeah. Okay.
right? And all right, they need working roads.
Mhm.
Not just for the locals, but so that people can use it as a through route to deliver to neighbouring boroughs as well. All right.
We're not talking about dissolving local councils.
Yeah, I get that. And obviously, you'll have something in place for things that need to go across multiple councils so that important services can continue to function. Fine. But if it comes down to, well, I think it's more important for my money to go to the schools than to the roads. If enough people say that, then the people who are in charge of roads are basically forced by the system you've put in place to start taking out advertisement time on TV or wherever to tell people the importance of building roads and maintaining them, right? So, first of all, you're now putting some of the funding that would have gone just to maintaining the road into advertising about maintaining the road. And secondly, it's whoever can put on the best marketing campaign gets the money, not necessarily the service that needs it most, or an equal share so two services can both get the money they need.
Certainly, there's going to be a lot of that. Because I'm not saying that it should be all of the tax, just percentage. Certainly, with a country like England, find it's actually largely everywhere outside of the city of London would get to spend their money locally, and largely it would be a case of managing how funds come out of London and various towns and cities outside of it. The
Right.
majority of the tax is actually
You would
Federal
need-
government.
You would need some kind of way of being like, my preference is for it to go here, but if that's already funded, then my second preference would be for it to go here.
yeah.
So
but-
that you've not got everybody going, well, schools are really important. Everybody's throwing everything at schools, and then, as said, no money for the roads or anything else.
precisely.
Yeah,
Hmm.
the problem you have there is, essentially, a lot of people will fund one thing, and the other, what we would consider current institutions, would be possibly underfunded. And
Yeah.
in order to solve that underfunding, you will have to take people's money away anyway to fund those things.
Disagree. I mean, largely with certainly with things like roads and essential services, you still need certain amount of funding and backing.
Okay.
But
Okay, so
Well,
everything
then-
essential would be ring fenced.
I would say to a degree, certainly it would be backed up by the potential for any loss to be covered by
Okay,
central
I,
revenue.
I like that.
But
I
it
like
would
that.
certainly be able to remove I constantly hear issues with people going, moan. Why is X being funded? Because in my neighbourhood, why is, it's nothing to do with what we want. And it takes that away. It gives them the ability to go, okay, well, if I want the Boy Scouts to get and whatever, and maybe not support various religions or whatever, that is it gives it back to the general public. It empowers the general public, and it also takes a huge. As I said, there's a huge amount of loss involved dealing with the central bureaucracy of the land revenue, so on.
I have a question.
That's get much more value. Go on.
Who determines what is an essential service? Because obviously you would not consider funding churches to be an essential service.
I
Given
agree.
your background.
I would actually personally tax breaks.
Yeah. Now,
Or at
someone
least I
who's a
would raise the
religious
same tax rates for
Christian,
philosophical. Sorry, go on.
yeah, a religious Christian, on the other hand, would look at a church and say, well, look, it's a pillar of our local society, local culture,
Mhm.
and it's what's keeping the kids away from the drugs. This is
Mhm.
necessary. We
Mhm.
need this to keep people on the straight and narrow. So who determines what is essential or not? Because I think, like, okay, if we're going to be rational, we'll say, like,
Right.
healthcare, education, roads,
Sure.
utilities. But not everyone's going to think rationally. And as the right marketing campaign, you could probably convince someone that, putting money into medical is actually a bad idea because they turn your kids autistic with their vaccines. To summarize what I'm trying to say is, I think you've forgotten that the human element is stupid.
The
easily
human,
moved.
yes, the human element is, but the human being, they shouldn't be treating everyone. Because if you treat everyone like they're stupid, you don't give.
In my experience, the smart ones generally still grow, even if you don't give an expectation
But
of
like church,
smartness.
but not real. Jesus. The problem
But
you
coming
have
back to
here,
the question I was asking, who determines what is an essential service?
That's a very good question. What is an essential? Is the NHS an awful lot of people? Certainly.
Mm.
So you're
Mm.
gonna have to you're gonna have democracy there. You're gonna have to at will. Since whether that means it becomes a much more socially giving society in the process, people have themselves to blame for it. But if everybody wants to give to various, you should give to why politically correct thing. If they're not doing it themselves, then it puts the onus back on the individual, putting the responsibility for the social change they want to see back onto their own wallet. It's amazing how many people are very, very pro high taxation until they get their first paycheck. And then they suddenly go, holy crap, how much am I paying to the Inland Revenue? This is terrible. it's you've got to actually, and if they go, well, I want to give X to the roads and I want to get X to the education. Suddenly the feeding.
Yeah, but you didn't answer my question, dude.
Hold on, guys. Trig, apparently your audio's cutting out a lot.
My audio.
Yes.
Right.
You're using your other mic, aren't you?
I'm not. I could switch over to my Yeti if you like. Hold on, let's see.
No, it's using your Yeti on the stream.
Is it?
Yeah.
Whoops.
You might want to fix that. Because whoops.
Whoops,
It's okay, chat.
indeed.
Stasi to the rescue.
Yeah, sorry
Stasi,
about that,
the
guys.
anti-boomer brigade. Fuck. Brigade.
He tosses a croissant-shaped boomerang and saves the day.
Well, now I know I'm using the Yeti, I can talk closer to the Yeti, which is great because it makes me feel like a radio show host. And it
But yeah,
shouldn't
so
cut out
dude,
then.
So you didn't actually answer my question about who determines what is an essential service, because to build off what you were saying,
I'm not doing
because
away with
you-
central government, so there is going to
no,
be
of course
a.
not. But
Okay.
you were saying about basically local areas getting more local power.
Yes.
So if you've got an area that's incredibly, well, I don't know, pick a faith or ideology, whatever comes to mind first, and say they consider something needs to be funded more than anything else,
Okay.
more so than even healthcare or education,
Sure.
or maybe their own flavour of education.
Mm-hmm.
Does their council not have the power to say this is something that should be allowed to be picked for spending the tax dollars on, tax pounds?
Do they have a majority in the area?
Yes.
Then, by simple deed, of democracy, yeah, you're gonna have to give them some respect towards that.
Well, it's more of a micro-democracy at that point, isn't it?
Oh, no, you've got local councils, you've got parish councils, and then you've got central government. The parish councils and your local city council, and so on, they do defer power, certainly down to the parish councils. Now, on the whole, they work quite well, and they're actually pretty good community-based systems. They're massively underfunded. Massively underfunded, certainly out in the countryside. Do they have biases towards Christianity and religion? Yeah, sure, of course they do. They are parish councils, after all. I don't understand what the problem is.
Well, I suppose
Who
I
gets
was-
to decide is what is an essential service? That is a central government job.
Right, so you're saying that if a given council is predominantly majority peaceful religion, shall we say,
Okay.
they still have to defer to central government about what they're allowed to pick as services that you're allowed to portion your personal tax allowance to.
Yeah. Yeah, there are what you would have to. I mean, if we're going to the nitty gritty of it, as it currently stands, every organisation that's providing government services essentially would carry on and then just be a recipient of. Any new organisations that wanted to crop up, would then essentially tender for a cut of it, and if they fell into, yes, you would be eligible because you would fall into being a government service normally, then they'd be eligible for that tax money. Whether or
Right.
not people would give any money to it is a different matter.
Right. So it'd be basically like when the general elections come around and the Tory party have their manifesto, we're going to put a government-funded ISP that is available to all but gives you really low speed, and you can give tax to support this in their manifesto, for example.
Sorry, weird question. So you want
Oh, no, I was just trying to think of something new
Don't jump over the top of me. So let me just rephrase. So I'm sure you want in the next government manifesto. You want an ISP for everybody.
No. I was just trying to understand if that's how you'd see it happen. That to add something new to the list of things. It might be on a party's manifesto, and if they get into government, they enact it.
It might be. It might also be a group of people who want to offer a service in a local community and talk to the local council and say, "Hi, can we be a recipient of your funds?" That would be a much more likely way of doing it.
Misunderstand them, because didn't you say earlier it has to be dictated by the general?
Yes, it would have to fall.
It
would have to fall within government guidelines of what would and wouldn't constitute a recipient of these funds. It's the same as anything else does at the present moment.
So, like a new
system,
a new kind of like industry, like the one I just gave there. Of basically everyone can have access to the internet for free at really low speeds, just so that everyone has basic internet access, and that can be taxable under the government.
Your misunderstanding of the word "free" is significantly mind-boggling. It's not free if everyone's paying for it.
I'm saying even the people who don't pay tax get access to it.
Yeah, so everybody else is paying for it. It's not
free at point of service.
Okay, free at point of service, yes, but it still costs a bleeding fortune.
Of course it does, dude. That's not what I was implying.
Yeah, no, but it was the throwing out free at point of service. Yes, they want to throw out something that's, I don't think, personally, that would ever get any funding.
I think it might in the future.
It wouldn't get any money off me, I'll tell you that.
Fine. If you don't think that people should all have access to their own soapbox on the world stage.
Sorry, say that again. You broke up a little for me.
If you don't feel, obviously this is getting off topic.
Yeah, you're
saying if you don't feel that everyone should have their own little soapbox on the world stage, that's your prerogative. I'm not saying I'm arguing for this. I was just coming up with something that
I'm not sure what this has got.
Service.
You seem to have fallen off on a tangent a little bit.
This entire tangent has been completely irrelevant.
I'm missing
just saying, how do you determine new avenues of taxable that have nothing to do with anything that exists now? If it has to adhere to, it has to be a charity, perhaps it has to be a service, it has to be whatever your rules are. Well, when you have a paradigm shift, how do you add something new?
It stands up on its own in the free market, first of all. If it doesn't, if it's a useless thing that is not a product that's worth actually selling in the first place, why on earth should the government be funding it? So if you show me something that is really, really freaking valuable that everybody wants, and that everyone's prepared to pay for as some sort of collective bargaining and get it cheaper for everyone in the process, that's how collective bargaining should go. We all get together, we push the supplier down to a good price for us all, and then that's how collective bargaining should go. So you want to do that with an ISP, fine. But if you just want to rustle up some taxes so that everybody gets a free internet and nobody has to pay for it, so essentially it's give the internet to everyone at the cost of everyone else, then I doubt it would get any money, and it's
well, all I can say to that is it sounds like that.
Are you going to have the government, as pointed out? Are you going to have the government controlling who has that ISP? If everyone pays into it, is it going to be an ISP that can be shut down?
Okay, I think you're focusing too much on just something I brought up as an example. If you want to have that conversation, that's
we're running away from the tangent now. Okay, let's leave it. I'm happy to leave it because we haven't heard anything from Tails. We haven't heard anything from Discordia. It's just been this so far. Tails, do you have anything, man? You've been invited into this.
Tails.
Sorry, Tails. Tailed. You're right, Tailed.
To be fair, I wasn't actually invited. I pretty much said, "Oh, can I come on?"
Sure. Okay. Cool.
Right.
Yeah.
I invited myself.
That's a kind of invite.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean,
Yeah, invited myself. Does that count?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, we can talk shit a bit.
Yeah.
I'm more of a shit talker than a tax talker, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
fine.
Me too, to be honest, man.
Well, I mean, the stuff you're saying, I mean, I've never really given it any particular consideration. So, but yeah, I'm a little bit kind of lost with how it would actually work. And
that's because they went on the biggest tangent away from the topic I've ever fucking seen. It's worse than last time.
That tangent was so long, I was able to fix a power outage.
even before the the tangent of epic proportions. I was kind of thinking, well, if like, I don't know, maybe I was just hung up on one little point that somebody made, was saying that essentially all these services would be privatized.
Yeah.
There has to be some kind of then these institutions getting your money.
Mhm.
How would that happen? Centralized government would still have to say you are due this amount of tax,
Mhm.
and then there maybe be a form or something where you tick, I'm going to put this percentage to this institution or something like that. Maybe I'm focusing too much on the nitty gritty.
No, actually, that's exactly where I want to go, because the idea came from essentially looking at mixing desk. It wasn't far off a mixing desk type of scenario that I was looking at, and I was just thinking that if the government, as a local government and central government, could essentially go, okay, instead of this is our budget for the year, this is what we would like to receive in, I don't know, 10 different lines of, this is education, this is healthcare, this is policing, this is whatever, just and fixed budgets there. You could maybe zoom in if you were more of a caring citizen and go right down to the level, but essentially have a website you could log into and go, I want I want this percentage to go to this bit, this percentage to go to this bit. I disagree with you here because you're paying far too much to these homeless people, whatever it is. Or actually, I want more to go to education from my bit, and not so much on this HS2 thing because I think that's nonsense or whatever. And just give people, even if it's barely superficial, some more enfranchisement into the way the government is running and spending. That's the core principle.
If you get one area that they spend all the, you get a progressive area, say, and they decide to put all their money into the local feminist whatever, and they waste all their money on that, and they have crappy healthcare, crappy policing, and they then start going elsewhere to get those services that someone else has poured their money into.
Certainly, yeah, that'll be an issue. But the people in that area will start to be looking at the state of their roads very rapidly and go, "We've given these feminists a huge amount of money, and they've ruined our town. Next year they don't get any money. Sorry, we're going to break all of those contracts that you've signed to give huge amounts of money away to puppies and kittens and homeless people and refugees. We're going to have to break that because you've bankrupted our town in the process." And you actually get a much more direct, impact of what happened. And yeah, you still have government funding to cover. The bread's still not, not going to make it to the shops. It's still going to get there. People will still have jobs, but you'll suddenly go, shit, they're not looking after the road.
Yes, but how long will that take? Like, it could be an entire year before you get to reallocate where your funds are supposed to be going, and that's assuming that the whatever institution you'd be giving it to doesn't just turn around and go, well, if you don't give us money, then we won't do so and so.
It's better than the verging on bankruptcies that are happening in local governments at the moment, with various Labour governments signing up massive contracts that affect them 10, 15, 20 years that nobody can get out of, waste huge amounts of money.
Right, I don't disagree that isn't a problem. My main problem with your solution to that is it will be extremely inefficient.
This is I don't think it will, just by cutting out the going through central government is a massive sink for cash. Government, the money just disappears off into the coffers of central government, and very little of it actually gets back. Because it goes into whatever.
Yes, there's more than just your local area needs.
Certainly.
Would there have to be some kind of, dare I say, governing body to make sure that the institutions? I suppose this is going back to kind of what you were saying before.
Yeah,
but
there would...
whether or not they're sort of bona fide kind of institutions, and what institutions would receiving tax money.
Yeah, absolutely, and that would be one of the institutions that would definitely receive tax money. It would be, but it would have to be independent. But
so would there be I'm just kind of thinking aloud here, but would there be what would the centralized governments
Correct.
what would their kind of role be in general? Would they have certain services that they can always offer and require tax for, like say
Yes.
defence and
Yes.
police and such like? So to say something like, I don't know, just an arbitrary figure here, let's say 50% of your tax had to go to centralised government regardless, and then you choose
The
where
other
the remaining
50%.
50% goes. Yeah,
That's-
is that
that's-
the kind of thing you're
That's
talking about?
almost exactly the figure I had in mind as well. Yeah, 50% to where you want to spend it. The other 50%, because you've got to guarantee your policing, you've got to guarantee your border security, you've got to guarantee that people don't sell horrifyingly dangerous products and things like that. You've got certain things that you need to guarantee.
Why not have something like, I know it's a cliche and you've talked about it before, but have the roads as part of that, so that
Sure.
the roads are obviously
Government has to be
the-
central infrastructure and the primary running of the country, but it shouldn't be dictating to us what we can speak to each other about.
No.
So
No,
we
of
need
course.
to weaken it significantly because it's got too much money and too many teeth. And
I have a
And-
slight problem with that.
Hold on, Trick. One issue we've run into is every time we list something that is centrally funded, you've gone, well, no, that can stay centrally funded, and we can go through the list and on thing by thing by thing, and you'll go, oh wait, no, that we kind of need as well. Oh yes, we need that as well.
Yep.
Oh yeah, the central government needs to fund that as well.
No, it needs
And
to
what you'll
back
end
and,
up
no,
doing-
no. It needs to back and guarantee certain things, so that they need to get their bare minimum.
Yeah, but everything we haven't found something that the government
Oh, do you want to find
guarantees
stuff?
currently.
He did give an example. He said religion.
First of all, religion. Yeah.
No, but my problem, which builds on what Charlie, Kovac, who was talking?
It was me, Stasi. You can call me Charlie if you want.
Sorry, and I actually thought you were Kovac for a second.
Not that again.
No, honestly, I thought Kovac was talking.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. Yeah, which is, you said 50%.
Yeah.
I think
Thereabouts.
I did.
If we-
but,
Yeah, I think that was
So
tail.
obviously, it's a number that you've picked out, and I understand why you picked it. But to build on what you said, it kind of gets to a point where if we add it all up, how much are you saying is being collected as tax that isn't going to these big, expensive, ring-fenced important things? 'Cause
Essentially,
I reckon it's a lot smaller than 50% that will be left over.
no, but what you can do is you'll be able to go direct to those. So your local hospitals, whilst that is a ring-fenced thing, you could put it into your tax liabilities so you can write stuff because it's such a prescient thing. Everybody
Could you
cares about that.
choose to fund a specialist hospital outside your council? Say, the best migraine or headache hospital in the country.
I wouldn't personally have a problem with that. I think case by case basis on that would have to be
Okay.
taken into account. You couldn't just have the best, the best hospital for varnishing cat nails getting money
Of course,
just because they're the best of
that
something.
comes back to something else though. That I think we all.
But things like air ambulances might not necessarily be under your local jurisdiction, but they would definitely help you if you
Mhm.
needed them to.
Yeah, agreed. But I think it just comes back down to the question: who decides?
Would
No, I
there be would it be more sensible for, instead of centralised government deciding which of the institutions get your money or which ones are ring fenced, then local government actually choose, because obviously it's going to be different depending on the region.
I would love to see local government do it mostly, to be perfectly honest. And I think that's a great idea. I think the idea of going there straight away would be catastrophic.
It definitely
Yes.
has to be a gradual process. There's no way that could just happen overnight. But
yeah.
I suppose the thing that that kind of popped into mind, and maybe isn't the best example because there's all sorts of reasons for this, but the thing that I would be concerned about, it's maybe actually a result of the system that we've got at the moment rather than anything else. But obviously, you've got the railways which are privatized, and the bus companies are privatized, and yet they receive massive government subsidies.
Yeah.
How would that affect that kind of thing? Do you think it would help?
It's almost exactly in line with where we're going in some respects. It's a private company offering a public service and being a recipient of government taxes.
Charging an arm and a leg to go 5 miles.
And charging an arm and a leg to go 5
Sorry.
miles. Yeah, no, I mean, this is it. It needs
Well, yeah,
to...
you could find the same thing with the healthcare service then. That, although it will still be receiving taxes, they'll start charging people to go in.
I would...
On top of that.
To be perfect, in my perfect ideal world, the healthcare system would be significantly reformed. And there would be an awful lot of services that wouldn't be considered healthcare, or that would... I would cut a lot of services that currently are.
Do you mean boob jobs on the NHS?
It is one of the things. Yeah, there's an. I would restrict and clamp down on. There's an awful lot of tourism that happens. Where people will come out and they will go home, and then that ends up unpaid. That needs to be policed more by the actual NHS itself and chased up upon. It's become a middle management nightmare. They can't fire people that are useless. And they can't give pay rises to people that they need to because they're overburdened on their pay.
Coming back on topic though.
Yeah.
So you were talking about earlier how councils should have more local control.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a question: If you have because you were saying it from the context that I remember, and I may have got this wrong in my memory, that more money should stay within the council and less of it should be sent, say, to London or Birmingham or wherever.
Yep.
If a given council is earning more than a certain percentage, should their money not be able to be redistributed to poorer areas in the country?
Oh, Jesus, redistribution of wealth, really?
It's
a good question, though.
If you've got an area in the country, say, like North Wales, for example, where this is an issue.
No, I take the point. It's actually, I mentioned this earlier, to be perfectly honest, in comparison to London's taking per square mile tax revenue, every other city and town in the UK would end up being the recipient of tax money from London and would get to keep all of their money. And that's actually pretty much what happens at the moment. London pays for everything.
Yeah. Yes. By necessity.
Exactly. So that's largely going to happen. But what you're going to do is you're going to give the local people a lot, in the towns, the disenfranchised people of the not in London brigade, which is a fucking lot of us.
That's the majority.
Yeah. It gives them, it re-enfranchises them. It's a method to re-enfranchise the public. Whether it be perceptual or not.
You're assuming that London gets more money in than it does out, and I'm not entirely sure that's true.
It gets a lot more money in.
Oh Christ! Yeah, London is responsible for about 80% of the tax revenue of England.
Yeah, easily.
It's just ridiculous, the difference. It really is.
I mean,
even if you just compare London to the next biggest city, which is Birmingham, I believe, it doesn't even add up.
Birmingham, Manchester. Manchester's doing well.
It's still a drop in the ocean.
But yeah, they don't have a stock market. The stock market makes billions of profit a day, and that means a lot of tax revenue in that process. Right, not as much as it could do, but it's phenomenal as much.
But why is that the case?
There's a stock market in London.
Why does London receive so much tax revenue?
Create so much tax revenue. It has all of the central banks. It's one of the central key banking points of the globe.
The globe.
Well, then there's good reason to have money being poured in there.
Yes, but it's a percentage sort of thing. It's 20% of a shit ton loads of money is still a shit ton loads of money.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, by and large, I think it's more than 60% of the money collected on tax in London goes out to the rest of the country.
Yes.
It's somewhere in that region. I don't remember the exact value.
London does pay largely out a lot.
And this is strongly due to the fact that there just isn't enough business out there for those regions to support themselves.
There is, but we incentivize it badly, and local governments are tied up and unable to incentivize stuff properly, and they get there's a huge, I mean, there's a huge number of places that could really, really revolutionize themselves by just going, okay, come here, and your businesses will pay 0 tax, or will pay 5% tax for the first 5 years, and they'll suddenly end up with loads of people employed, which means they'll have huge amounts of income because of the employment, rather than sitting there being, Welsh.
Well, that's both
For
a good and a
example.
bad idea. It's a good idea from what you said, but it's also a bad idea because it encourages businesses to basically move every 5 years to whoever's got the cheapest thing locally, and that's damaging to the area they move out of.
There is a degree of that, and if you tie them into... Yes.
But what
there's an
company
awful
doesn't
lot
have
of...
an army of lawyers to
There's
deal
an
with that?
awful lot of benefits to offering tax incentive business to go. I mean...
Oh, certainly.
Yeah,
I mean, look what it did for Canada's game industry.
Yeah, exactly.
And then look what it did after they ended the in Canada, the tax breaks.
After seeing what I've seen of Canada over the last year or so, I don't feel it's appropriate for me to comment on Canada, as I'm not actually a qualified psychotherapist.
Ooh, well played.
Because whatever's coming out of there is mad, and I'm not quite sure what type of mad it
I
is.
meant more that the game industry basically collapsed financially pretty much overnight when they ended it.
Yes, well, there was that, and that. Yeah, but we're talking about games companies that released. This is coinciding with things like Mass Effect Andromeda, which was Montreal's gaming industry shooting itself in the head in spectacular style.
Getting back to the idea of like doing localized tax breaks in the country, as I say, I do like it in like at a certain level. It is a nice idea.
Yeah, but
It's
almost
very idealistic.
Yeah, but it's immaterial amount of tax revenue in comparison to
there
the
is
benefit
one
of
problem.
bringing in CEOs and middle management, employment up to sort of 50,000 as an average wage into an area. If you bring in a bit decent company, you brought in, say, Caterpillar or JCB into an area.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
You're
Here's the
talking
thing, though,
major money, and they only
logistics.
need space and a road. Yeah.
And the problem is logistics takes time. I mean, I know you love to slam HS2 for good reason,
God, I hate.
but put it this way: when HS2 is online, if it lived up to its expectation, and even if it doesn't, it's still to some extent, it will bring business to the areas that it services. If you say like Northern Wales is going to get Caterpillar and JCB, they're not going to go there unless you have a really decent motorway and or train and or airport. And it's really hard to encourage businesses to invest in those things before there's something a bit of a catch-22. That's why cities tend to build up and up and up and up.
Yeah, but throwing Wales back into that equation, Wales actually has all of that. It could do with some improvements, but it's got tremendous communication systems because it's got ports.
That's true.
It can be an international trade centre. It used to be an international trade centre.
Yes, it did.
But unfortunately, the mining industry died, and no one's paid any attention to it ever since, which is a damn shame.
It is.
Beautiful country out there. Very shame about the people.
Makes you wonder, though, would it still be beautiful if it hadn't have been left to go back to nature, as it were?
Back to nature. All I can say is if it were more.
That's one way to put.
I'm just trying to be nice.
Look, we might have killed off that god awful language that they speak, which would have been a good thing if you ask me, because Welsh is retarded. Go on, at me, bring it on.
All I can say to that is pop de ping.
Yeah, precisely. And board smoothio. It's not. And it's not a language.
Is that ironing board?
That's ironing board. Yeah, that's ironing board. Yeah, pop de ping is microwave, if I remember rightly. Yes, it's a stupid language. It sounds like a Monty Python sketch that's been taken far too seriously.
Credit where it's due, though, it has given us the longest station name in the country.
Oh, don't even start. That thing's just that's a practical joke by the locals to see how many people just die trying to say it.
I remember back in the 90s, I watched a game show where they paid someone $100,000 for memorizing it in just an hour.
In an hour?
Yeah.
Do you know, I used to be able to say it. I can't remember it now. I would need to see it, but I can remember how it's pronounced. Let's see if I can find it. Going completely off topic.
A postcard from there.
God.
you get your postcards like A4 in left and right, and just A2 up and down or something.
Yeah, pretty much. Life-size sign.
There was that story about a signpost in Wales where they had a phone service where you basically phone up to get the Welsh translation. And they phoned up, got the Welsh translation, put it on there, and then were told later, that means, sorry, we're on holiday today. Please leave a message and we'll get back to you on Monday.
Brilliant.
I don't know if that's true, but I want it to be true.
I do. I mean, I do like the place names, but it's got that wonderful old sort of. Are we talking to sort of hobbits and elves type of feel
Yes.
about it? You can easily base a D&D game based on Welsh names. Maybe throw in a few Australian random names as well.
I might
'cause
have to hold you to that one day.
damn, they've got some funny names in Australia as well.
But yeah, going back to that though, yeah, I think the biggest problem there is even with localized tax breaks, getting companies to say, well, you know, it's really convenient being in a big city next to all the other companies we deal with, because meeting in person is actually still a very important thing.
It is.
To the point where they're like, you know what, we're going to up sticks, move to the middle of nowhere out of the country. You know, we'll give everyone like incentives to move out there with us because the housing's cheap over there. And I don't know, we will fund a local nightclub and a pub and whatever, just so they have something to do with their money. It's a big ask. If you could get people to go for it, I think it would be good for the country. But again, it's a big ask.
If it were put into practice, I'm actually only expecting about 5 to 10% of them to actually do anything other than just do their PAYE and let their company pay the government centrally or manually, or the way it does it automatically.
Mm-hmm.
Giving people the option to do it enfranchises those people that
Even if it
don't-
won't have a significant effect.
even if it won't have a significant effect.
Alright.
It's something the government can do to give back to the people, and I think it's something that would be quite achievable. And it
That'd
would
be
also
an easy way of getting votes then.
it would be an easy way of getting votes, and it might even give the government some information that they've never had before, which is how the actual public really feel about where their money should be going. And
True.
that's information we've never had, never really seen before. We just vote for whichever tosspot looks less likely to take us to war and get us all killed, usually.
All I'm going to
That's-
say is you must never let Labour hear about your plan.
I don't think they would like it very much. The whole ethos behind it is less centralized government and smaller government. That's total anathema to where they stand at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment, I suppose, yeah. Classic Labour, maybe not so much.
Classic Labour I probably wouldn't have too much problem with, but which classic Labour are you talking about? Because classic Labour from the 70s and 80s was as communist as it is now.
That's true. I'm thinking like almost pre-First World War at this point.
I have no personal experience of that time. I thought I'm surprised how old you are. Scott.
Really?
Dude, there's this really, really marvellous thing I need to introduce you to at some point. It's called a book.
Just don't even.
On the internet.
Just,
Harsh.
yeah, well, no, as people can rewrite the internet far easier than they can rewrite my books. And that's
Things
scary in
happened
and of
before
itself,
you were
isn't it?
born. I know it's hard to believe.
Not many things. Look, my granddad Adam and Eve, they told me all I need to know.
That's a weird name for a granddad.
Never granddad.
Grandparents, yeah. No,
If the coincidence was that was actually their name,
no,
fair
they're
play. Well done.
not. That would be cool, though, wouldn't it? Damn, I could.
That would be a really. I'm
I
sorry.
could, I could play the role of
by
ultimate
default.
boomer. At that point, no, sadly not.
Does that
true.
mean you're Cain or Abel?
Oh, well, that's for you to make a decision.
Oh, you're Cain. You're definitely Cain.
Well, he isn't dead.
Yep. And do you have the mark of Cain upon ye?
I have no idea what that is.
It's
What?
either a tattoo or birthmark that's like
What?
visible on your hand or face.
No.
Basically means if someone murders you, they will be very, 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 very severely punished.
Okay.
Oh, I'm back. I went out for a cigarette and everything. Are we still on a tangent? Are we? Where are we at?
it's a bit of a tangent, actually.
We have discovered Trig's grandparents' names are Adam and Eve.
No, that's not true. I wish it were. That would be hilarious, but it's not true.
No, that's his granddad's name.
Yeah,
Oh, yes, sorry, I apologise.
yeah. No, Granddaddy was confused. Okay.
I can imagine with a name like that. His parents must have really wanted twins, I guess.
Shahi was really groundbreaking in his time.
Oh
It's
god,
time.
do not even start that.
Oh, well, I guess we have an expert on babies who could explain that.
Oh, babies! Don't.
Maybe.
I have had my share of babies.
I saw your video.
You know how
It
many
was-
times I went through those clips?
God awful.
All I have to say to that is, babies rhymes with rabies.
Oh god.
The thing is, babies is not a gendered term.
No.
Yes,
I don't know why
that
you
means
need
it's
to take gender
history.
out of the word. It's not gender to begin with.
It's like, have you ever seen a little sort of 2 or 3-year-old girl or 2 or 3-year-old boy? They naturally they're not subject to social pressure. They naturally pick up a doll and play with it, and the boy naturally picks up the dirt and throws it at the little girl. It's just that's how they are. There's no. It's just give me this. Oh, yeah, whatever.
Is
You
it
heard it
just me
first
that
here,
Trig
folks.
is
Trig is
relatable?
endorsing
Am
toddler
I roboting?
violence.
Sorry. Dude,
I'm not sure if it's my end or yours.
it could be.
Sorry, what's the-
either. Who's roboting, Mo? Is it me or Disco?
It's always been disco.
He's just tailed static.
Okay.
I don't know how.
Ah, it's gone. Yay.
Are we good? It's, you know what? I really should start using Google Hangouts because Discord is so sodding unreliable on this.
Yeah, it's not. It's fine.
Do you really
So-
want to use the tool of the man, Trig?
No, Google can sod off. That's why we're not using it. I can't help it. You know, I was like one of the first couple of thousand people to ever get an email address off Google. I was so Google's biggest fan when it came out. Then they got too big, and it was just like, no, you're
Then
the
they
man
added
now.
a comma to the motto.
So, this is the
Yeah,
monster
yeah,
that you've
don't
created.
Be evil. Seems to be their motto. Yeah, damn right.
Anyway,
Well, it's somewhat
getting
creepy
back
when
on
a company
topic.
abandons the idea of don't be evil.
Anyway,
Yeah,
getting back on topic.
Yeah, sure.
What do you feel in if we were in a situation where we've enacted the policy, as you say, and let's say it's been going for about 5 years,
Okay.
and there's a natural disaster, say in I don't know Spain, they get hit by a tsunami or something.
Okay.
I know. Let's not go into details of how the tsunami happened.
I was going to say, I'd be impressed on a tsunami in Spain. frankly.
If you, asteroid crash in the Atlantic or whatever.
Sure. Okay.
Right.
Right.
So they need aid. They need aid.
Right.
Is that a ring?
Atlantis needs aid.
Is foreign aid ring fenced?
Foreign aid is one of the things I would reduce significantly. But we
keep in
do.
mind, there's different types.
I know. We certainly, as a first world leader of the world country, yes, absolutely, we should be offering aid to people that we can help. Yes, that's part of the central government's main gist. But there's an awful lot of foreign aid that comes in the form of I'm reminded whenever I think of foreign aid at the moment. I'm reminded of that speech that the president of Ghana gave right to Macron's face, where he told him,
Oh.
"Thanks very much for your money, but no thanks. We don't need financial slavery to France anymore." And
Ooh,
that's
I
roughly
hadn't
how
seen that.
it's a hell of a video.
I'll have to look that up later.
Yeah, and that's what happens with a lot of foreign aid. Is a lot of countries end up too reliant on the help of the first world, and then having to curtail to their demands, and we see it all over Africa.
NGOs.
Pardon?
The alternative is the money for foreign aid ends up in the coffers of NGOs ferrying people across the Med.
NGOs do all sorts. Some of it.
So you'd be for like disaster aid and stuff,
Yeah,
but maybe not just throwing money at countries that aren't helping themselves.
yeah. That's it.
The question though is,
I mean, you can talk forever on foreign policy. Foreign
Of course.
policy is a massive subject in and of its own right.
but
And
I guess I'm asking, should it be ring fenced in emergencies, like there's a ring fenced budget for helping our allies in emergencies, and in the other cases of business as usual, should people be able to say, you know what, I'd rather give money to Haiti than to the homeless of England?
this is where my issue comes in.
The thing is, you could do that through charity now anyway.
Yeah.
I would imagine that there's charities for Haiti that you could
There are.
send money
Some of
to.
them are horrifying.
There are homeless charities that you could send money to
Yeah.
without making it part of your taxes.
I would significantly rather, if money has to be spent on either, the British government sorts out its troubles at home first. It's the whole, if you like, it's Jordan Peterson's "clean your room, bucko."
Yeah.
But on a meta scale, if your house is not in order, you can't go out and tell people how to run their home.
But doesn't that step on the civil liberty of the person getting to pick their where their tax goes?
No,
Right.
not in no way, shape, or form.
Well, it's like
How do you
I
jump to that?
want my tax to go towards making sure that there were no starving African kids on my TV.
Oh, and I'm not stopping you from giving to a charity. Yeah, but that's not going to make itself. Foreign aid certainly is part, but that's part of central government. That really is part of central. Significantly part. Of central
Fair enough.
I'm
So
really
it would be
trying. The concept of this part. I mean, there's huge swathes where that we can cover. As this idea, because it's very libertarian in principle. Whole idea, fairly minimalist, and foreign aid and foreign policy, is a massive subject. It's a massive.
Okay, let's make it a bit more national then.
Okay.
Same overall question, except instead of countries, counties.
Okay.
Can I choose that? Maybe my family is Scottish hereditary, and I'd rather give to homeless people in Scotland than in the council which I've lived in for 3 generations. Is that okay?
I don't see any problem with it.
But I thought the tax should be locally spent.
Ideally, but if you want to do that, no, I think that should be okay. In the same way that you would be able to donate certain funds to the best eye hospital in the country. I think that would be a similar type of deal. It would, in an ideal world, and most of it would end up local, and I think that would be largely the case. But in those cases where people do want us to take their money and give it to somewhere else outside of their local area, I don't think that's really much of a problem. If that is allowed, I would imagine it would largely even out across the counties.
Can Polish people send money home to charities in Poland?
Can money be traded internationally? Of course it can.
No, like because you pick a charity that supports something in Poland because you're a Polish family. And it means it gives you a way to send extra money back home in a way.
Yeah, of course you can do that. I'm not stopping you from trading money, but if you think it's going to be via taxes,
that was the question.
No. If you can petition that to be something that is some sort of organisation that does that specifically, and see if that gets on the books. I strongly think it wouldn't.
Okay.
But no, that's not in the. I mean, if we're not talking about charities, charities would operate the same way as they are. NGOs being the problem that they are, and blessing in some. I'm not about to write off all NGOs. Médecins Sans Frontières, etc., do fantastic work all the way across Africa and South America, and treating people with illnesses and vaccinating, etc.
It's such a shame they smell like French cheese.
Oh, the French. The French are actually doing something that, on the whole, is largely, positive. It's one of the first times ever. I'll give them the credit where it's due. It's not selling weapons or invading anywhere and running away. So it makes a nice change. But,
well, I don't really have any further questions, Your Honour.
Oh, okay, fair enough. I don't know how that. Right. But,
Would this plan work easier in a federal UK?
Ooh. Oh. Oh.
I love throwing that out there and just seeing who it triggers.
I have a number of issues with hereditary leadership of the country, shall we say. I think it's a preposterous thing to be doing in this day and age, and much as I kind of like Queenie, the Queen's all right. And let's be fair, we've all loved Prince Philip making a massive gaffe from time to time by being monumentally racist in public. I mean, seriously, some of the things he said, wow. Oh, you can't find them anymore. You try finding them on the internet, and a lot of them get very, very sanitized very quickly. But wow, he said some corkers. Should that institution carry on? It's difficult to say. Here's the thing with regards to the monarchy is actually somewhat of a stopgap against the government going completely freaking bonkers, because the armed forces still answer to the Queen in principle.
Don't forget she has the power to dissolve Parliament.
And she has the power to dissolve Parliament, etc. And I kind of like having somebody that can do that. The fact that it's a hereditary monarchy irks me somewhat, and the fact that we could end up with some right plonkers in charge in the very near future if we're not careful also is a worry. So yeah, I think largely it would work better in a federal Europe, federal England.
Not federal Europe. Oh, geez.
Jesus, there's a slip. I'm letting my globalist, my inner globalist agenda.
Devolution for England when?
Here's the thing. Scotland was given a vote. They voted, and I think either way, I would have respected. I kind of understood why they wanted to do it, but to do it and then jump into bed with Europe sounded bonkers.
Yes.
That said,
Scotland
and England are kind of great mates, and we work well together because we get to take the piss and be rude to people that are actually just as rude and piss takey as ourselves, and not get too offended by the whole thing. Because let's be fair, who else is there out there to take the piss out of the way the English take the piss out of the Scots, and vice versa? I mean, we can do it to the French, but they get all irritable about it.
Yeah, they can't take a joke, really, can they?
They can't take it. We do work well together because we're both a bit fighty. We both like a pint, and it's good
humour most of the time.
Yeah, Yeah, it's
But
like
I do think if there was a referendum whether or not to kick Scotland out of the UK, I think if England and Wales and Northern Ireland got to vote to kick us out, I think that we probably would get kicked out.
I don't know. I wouldn't be for it. I would be sad to see that happen. That
What
said,
about kicking England out?
there are a lot of wankers in England.
Someone's voted to kick England out.
There's a lot of English wankers that go, yeah, fuck them off. Just for the giggles. And they go, oh shit, we didn't actually mean it. Fucking hell. That's, yeah. I don't know, you could just kick Glasgow out, maybe.
I'd be fine with that. Fucking
Man, I
reviews.
didn't even have to speak, and you're already talking about how to destroy the UK.
Oh, we are pretty self-destructive, aren't we?
Well,
I
let's
should-
be honest. We've got to do it before other people do it.
Oh, there is that, yeah.
Well, they're having a crack, but I don't think they
if it's going to be destroyed, at least we know we did it.
will.
We destroyed it with self-deprecation.
All this thing. I think we're going to do okay out of this. I think Theresa May needs to fucking get her life sorted. I'm still quite hopeful. I think the Brexit thing in general was such an interesting. The fact that it happened is very, very interesting. It cannot be ignored. And I think it brings out the fighty spirit in the Brits and the Scots, the general sort of Celtic Anglo "fuck you, you're not the boss of me" kind of attitude that we've all got. Fuck those guys. We'll be okay. It might take us a little while to get out of it, but I have hope. Even though I'm fucking off to New Zealand, skiing there is awesome.
Well, yeah, New Zealand's great, but they're pretty cucked as well, to be honest.
They are pretty cooked, but New Zealand is big enough for you actually to find a big enough spot where there's no one else around, and then you can.
On the flip side, their population is so small
You could do that in Scotland
an
too.
influx of woke people could actually make a difference.
Which
That'll
type
be
of
the
woke
green
people?
green card system. Are you woke?
Are you woke? Define woke.
I'm not even sure anymore. It seems to apply to both sides.
No.
But you're right, though. The population in New Zealand's so small. There's about the same amount of people in New Zealand as there are in Scotland, but in an area the size of Britain.
Yeah.
Have we just started conspiring to invade New Zealand and take
I
it
think so.
over democratically?
I think all of the shit posters
No.
of England and America will all apply to New Zealand and will make New Zealand great. Can't say again yet because
Just need to reinstate the empire. We'll be sorry.
Yeah, well, there's always that, isn't there? There's the whole sort of pull back to England, let Europe fall apart, and then invade and start,
I'm sorry.
even Greater Britain and the beginning of the new empire.
So, did I just hear a Scotsman endorsing us restarting the empire? I just want to get
Absolutely,
confirmation on that.
we did very well out of the empire. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and it's refreshing to hear someone from the north saying that.
It would have to be under the Stuart kings, of course. We'd have to reinstate the Stuarts.
Are there any left?
Really? Can we talk about that federal?
Just behave. We'll just put the wall back up.
I'm such a contradiction. I know. It's fine.
Less Britishly.
Stuarts or federalism?
I know you are all about the federal thing, Trig, but let's be honest. What has been more corrupt in the last 100 years, the government or the royal family?
I would largely say the government, and that's pretty much a given. The royal family Queenie has been pretty solid since she was coronated as, being someone that is an absolutely excellent statesman and waves exactly when she needs to wave, is polite to even the most impolite people, and generally she's been fantastic for the country. But the concept of royalty is slightly preposterous. Looking into chat
But
now,
is it?
I see Oscar isn't in chat watching.
But is it though?
Yeah, he'd be
So
raging.
I have to channel the Oscar because he's not here.
Is religion? Is monarchy
Yeah,
preposterous?
monarchy. Like, you think about it. Someone plants a flag on a pit of land, or a tribe, forms up under a leader,
Uh-huh.
and then their children are groomed to be the next leader, just as the fishmonger's child is groomed to be the next fishmonger.
Oh God. So zero social
not-
mobility.
I'm not saying that there's zero social mobility, but I'm
it
saying
sounded
that
a bit like it there for a
in
second.
in a world where resources are not plentiful, by necessity you need to ensure that there is always a fishmonger, an ironsmith, etc.
So because my dad sold old ladies' underwear on a market, I should be doing that now as well.
Not
Because
necessarily
that's
so
my
much
place
that, but
and
it's
role
more,
in the world, is it?
it's more that
Fuck off.
who in a village, who's the best person to teach the next ironsmith? The current one,
Oh
right?
Christ.
And who's going to have? Obviously, you get a bit of nepotism, but also who's going to have the time to be able to do it?
Right. Okay. I don't know. I'm just looking outside, just ever so quickly, and there's no castle. I'm not seeing any horses.
Wait,
and
you
there's
don't
no
have a
fair
castle
maidens.
near you?
No. And
I feel sorry for you.
I don't see the system of hereditary blacksmithing in the local village.
No,
Kids
see,
used to live
I
next
don't
to a
think what
castle.
you're saying is
It's
a
a
fair
particularly
rebuttal to
prescient
what I'm saying.
societal issue.
I'm
now.
saying how this all built up in the first place, and
Uh-huh.
whilst we're in a world relatively of post-scarcity in comparison,
We're not post-scarcity yet.
no, we're not post-scarcity, but I said in comparison,
Mm-hmm.
like the scarcity is completely different.
Shall we say we
There's
are in
still-
abundance?
There is still a certain aspect of it, because I think part of it is slightly human nature.
Just because somebody is born the son of or the daughter of a tailor, not mean they are going to be the best at being a tailor.
Of course not.
Just
But
because
they
somebody,
have a
just
natural
because
advantage.
just because somebody is born to be the king doesn't mean they're the best person to be the king.
True, but they still have a natural advantage because they're
Have you
brought up
seen how many
surrounded by it.
completely bonkers royalty there has been in the?
Of course.
Do I need to bring up how completely inbred the Habsburgs and other royal families are?
Of course, I completely agree with you, but at the same time, you have to admit that if you're brought up around a tailor, and as a kid, you spent like every time when you're not at school, helping out your tailor father, that gives you a natural advantage.
Is it just me that thinks
get
that
an
Ez is in the
apprentice.
wrong sense? Yeah, apprenticeship. Exactly. That's it. I mean,
Apprentice princes.
So, should we get an apprenticeship for royalty?
that's an interesting idea. To be honest, I have to say, I kind of like the American system. I know.
America.
America, indeed. You guys elect, essentially, a new king every 4 years, or 8 years, depending. And that's an interesting system. The president system replaces royalty. It fundamentally does all the other things. It's actually a lot more powerful than the president in America is significantly more powerful than in day-to-day business.
That's kind of because the United Kingdom's weak, and
no. We had the Prime Minister of England sort of fulfills that role, but only half. It's like the Prime Minister derives her legitimacy from the Queen. Royal, it's the whole that whole thing.
Tag, not my prime minister.
I don't know. Oh, your Prime Minister. It's it's nice. I was a big fan of the Crankies as a kid. It's nice to see them doing so well in later life.
Well, not my first minister. Hashtag not my first minister.
Jimmy Cranky.
Wee Jimmy Cranky is as comedic as ever by trying to run a country
True.
into the ground. I think is the running a
Just a
country.
thought. Unless we've moved too far away from the royal family already, but
Oh, go on, let's wonder.
do you feel that the tradition of having the British royal family is important to Britishness in some way, shape, or form.
An awful lot
You know,
of us
God
like
save
it.
the Queen and all that.
An awful lot of us like it. As a figurehead thing, she does a hell of a lot better job than, shall we say,
Well, I'm
the
not saying just
Swedish
the
royal
Queen,
family.
dude.
Yeah,
I
I
said
know.
the whole royal family, the concept there.
I know, and you know what? If they acted like the Swedish royal family, went around in bonkers hats, and were generally a bit sort of, what the fuck are they would have less of an impact. But as they are,
Yeah.
because Queenie is who she is, essentially, they are much more respectable. If they were different people, if they were acting in a different way, I think that respect would drop off very rapidly.
I can appreciate that. I mean, look at the French royal family, after all.
What's
Are
left of it?
Exactly.
Are the British royal family not also important in relation, sort of diplomatic
Foreign
relations?
Yeah,
policy.
certainly.
Foreign policy, and with the Commonwealth.
The Commonwealth, yes.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
the thing.
I meant it more from a tradition point. Like, how important is tradition to a country's future?
Oh God, how important is tradition to a country's future?
Country.
Only time will tell, I suppose.
That's
course,
yeah.
But it's like there's two ways of looking at it. This one is you should maintain your traditions, and the other is traditions don't matter. Change, get with the times, Grandpa.
Is being ruled over by someone really a tradition?
I think little column A, little column B has to be applied at all points. You know, that's how you
Agreed.
make progress, and actual progress rather than
Ruled
diving.
over by the Queen, or is she just sort of there and?
In name only.
I know it's a bit more than name only,
doesn't-
but I don't.
hold on.
it
She has
doesn't
the
feel
ability
like
to completely dissolve your
He has the
parliament, right?
ability to totally seize control.
She
of
also has the
England.
ability to refuse any law.
Thing is, last time that happened, we decapitated one.
Well, I think I could be wrong on this, but I believe the rules are if they refuse a law, because every law has to be brought to the current monarch,
Yes, and
and if they
Time's
refuse a
off on
law,
Yes.
they have to abdicate, and then whoever's put in place will be presented the exact same law again.
That's kind of the tradition, because that's what happened with Charles.
Yeah, I think it was.
That's roughly what happened. They offered him a law.
It's Charles I who got decapitated.
You're right. It's Charles the First. Right.
Being schooled on English history by a Scotsman.
I know.
To be fair,
The shame of it all.
To be fair, I think Charles I was actually born in Scotland, if I remember rightly.
Well, good thing they cut his head off then. Oh, did I just say that out loud?
It's because he defected to England, of course.
My family has interesting. My family was
Big sheep.
No, there's a guy who was part of my family, Johnny Cope, was involved in a battle with the Scottish just outside Leeds, I believe it was, on their way down in the Jacobite Rebellion. And the bastards kicked our ass so hard, they wrote a song about it.
Was that 1715 one, wasn't it?
Something like that, yeah. It's Johnny Cope, are you waking yet? Because the Scottish ran out in the middle of the morning, early morning, while the British were still getting dressed and basically caught us with our pants down. Fair play.
Literally, that okay, interesting.
Yeah.
And the Scots obviously don't wear pants to be caught with them down.
No, kilt is much quicker to wrap round and slap on and grab your claymore.
And your sword.
Yeah.
It's even faster if you're one of those weirdos that just runs out there naked.
They did occasionally.
I know.
Not even memeing or anything like that, but I do wear a kilt just casually sometimes.
That's kind of badass, to be fair. That's isn't it not cold?
Yeah.
Because Scotland is fucking cold, and wearing a knee-length skirt seems to be like a brave move for a man in any
With
weather.
no underwear, yeah.
But fair enough. It is a
right. Well, you know why in Braveheart it's all about freedom. They're actually just talking about their balls.
Yeah.
The freedom.
That film was shit.
Talking about it was perfectly accurate.
Yeah. Braveheart, yeah. Wow. I liked Braveheart,
Frank,
regardless of it
the
being
old
completely
Frankie
ridiculous.
Boyle joke where he's talking about like, oh, no one, it's not believable to have Mel Gibson playing a Scotsman, and look at him now, an alcoholic racist.
Yeah, spot on.
Yeah.
I don't know which was worse actually, Braveheart, or did you see the Robin Hood thing? Where they had Robin Hood being the signing the Magna Carta, basically. What the fuck have you done to our history?
I don't remember that one. Was that the one with Bryan Adams?
Oh, it was Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe
Oh right, no, I haven't seen
did
that.
one, and yeah, no, they had him basically demanding that King John sign the Magna Carta. I was like, yes, that was the same king that signed the Magna Carta, but it wasn't fucking Robin Hood that did it. Yanks and their history, go on, damn 'em. It's only the most important document in history. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so that's a film to watch and go, what? Yeah.
Did they even get their own history right?
Not usually, but they don't have very much of it, bless them.
I suppose. I love saying to like Americans and that, I have furniture in my house older than your country. Scares the hell out of them.
The unanimous declaration of the 13 United States of America when in course of human events. Oh.
I keep going, mate.
We were talking about important historical documents.
Yeah,
Things
well,
unlike, things that aren't British.
anything not British is unimportant.
Right.
And also not documented, clearly.
Although to be fair, if I had the chance, I would be interested in readdressing the whole representation thing for taxation with America. We'd let them back in.
Yeah, we might consider letting you have a representative before we tax you.
That was a bad move, that whole. No, you can't have an MP. What a fucking.
Hey, you guys aren't the only ones with ancestors that killed British people.
Yeah, America. How's the border doing down there at the moment? I hear you have.
From my understanding, pretty well. I mean, it's kind of. God, I love that. Yeah, I was honestly really disappointed because I was, yesterday I laughed so hysterically when I read about the woman that got impaled on the border, and I was so sad later on. I
Oh.
found out she survived. I was like,
Oh,
God
yeah,
damn it, that was
no.
so much funnier when I thought she died.
No, she took it in the butt.
No, she took it out the butt. I think.
Yeah. Oh. Crikey.
Like it went in through her torso and out somewhere on her ass.
Damn. Ouch.
Oh man, so no, she didn't take it in, she took it out.
See, that's just ruined my joke about sodomy in the United States.
Was that the Sex Pistols' unsuccessful follow-up to Anarchy in the UK? Sodomy in the USA?
I'd buy that album.
Never mind the bollocks.
That sounds really gay.
I've lowered the tone of your
That's okay. That's okay.
what I'm saying, what?
I was half expecting Carpo to join in at just that moment. It would have been a perfect moment for him. Resident sex pest in the server. I don't know if we've it feels like we're coming to a bit of a natural end. If anyone's got anything else to chuck in at the moment, do but
Your system won't work. That's all I have
my
to add.
system won't work. Screw
Yeah,
you.
that's what I was actually gonna say
Find me
before
a
I
system
initially
that actually
disconnected.
works at the moment.
The stream could have been like 30 seconds. You just
Yep.
talk
I
about
just-
your idea. You just put forward your idea, and we say no. And then we'll all just go to
No, good night, fuck.
the pub.
Pretty much. I just wanted to put a little tilde here, right here. Your system won't work. There you go.
Big disagree. I think there's plenty to work with.
Did anyone actually discuss who would fund the collection system?
Probably the central government.
Yeah, we've got.
So tax money would fund it.
Yep. That was going to be an issue
Oh,
I would
that's
have brought
ironic.
up. But
Well,
ironically, as you fucking went off on a tangent, so I couldn't fucking bring it up.
I thought
No,
I kept bringing
I
us back
sort of-
from tangents,
yeah,
but that's just me.
actually, on that, largely yes. But as initially mentioned, you would be able to literally go to some places that are on the list, give your money over, take your receipt, and go. There you go, taxman. There's my receipt for. That's the crux of it.
Well, fun enough, I tangentially brought that up,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, no, that's. Did I miss that? I might have missed it. So much freaking noise in this. Yeah, sometimes. But it's no, it's been fun.
I was just waxing lyrical anyway. So
Yeah, no, no, it's been fun. I think good to have you guys on. Very much, and call it a day here.
But
And,
thank you for letting me invite myself on.
You were very welcome. Everyone's invited. Yeah, by all means. And well, later.
Bye.
I've hit the stop streaming button. Shall we say? Oh, I haven't, not yet. Did you want to say something,
Oh,
Stasi?
God.
I'm literally about to hit it. Go on.
I said bye.
Oh, bye. Okay, well, yeah, bye from everybody else. Yeah, cool.
Bye.